All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive today into the world of Prince William.
Prince William.
You got it.
Okay.
You sent us a Wikipedia article on him, and wow, it is incredibly extensive.
It is.
It covers everything from his childhood to his latest charitable endeavors.
Yeah.
So get ready to go beyond the headlines and discover some really surprising things about the man who might be king one day.
You know, most people think they have William all figured out, future king, devoted husband, all that.
Yeah,
But this Wikipedia article reveals a depth and complexity to his story that I think will really surprise you.
I am ready for the surprises.
Good.
Let's jump in with his early life.
Okay.
The article mentions he was born in 1982, the eldest son of then Prince Charles and the late Princess Diana.
Right. And that birth, as the second in line to the throne, instantly placed him in a global spotlight, unlike almost any other child.
Right.
But just imagine the weight of that legacy, especially given the highly publicized lives of his parents.
It's hard to even fathom. And then, of course, there's the impact of his parents' divorce in 1996 and Diana's tragic death just a year later.
Right.
That had to have been incredibly difficult for a 15-year-old to process, let alone under such intense public scrutiny.
Absolutely. Those events, especially losing his mother so young and in such a public way, undoubtedly shaped William's character and his outlook on life.
Yeah.
It likely instilled in him a deep understanding of the power and at times the intrusiveness of the media.
Which makes his education choices even more interesting.
Okay.
The article says he attended Eton College, breaking from the royal family's tradition of attending Gordonston.
Mm-hmm.
What's the significance of that?
Well, it suggests an independent streak, a willingness to forge his own path. Gordonston, where his father and grandfather went, is known for its rigorous outdoor program and emphasis on character building through challenges.
Right.
Eton, on the other hand, is steeped in tradition and academic excellence.
Yeah.
It was seen as a more establishment choice, but perhaps it was also an environment where William felt he could have a bit more normalcy.
It's like he was carefully navigating between tradition and carving out his own identity.
Yeah.
And this continued with his university choice, right? He went to the University of St. Andrews, where he earned a geography degree.
Exactly. St. Andrews is a prestigious university, but it's also known for its more relaxed atmosphere compared to, say, Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah.
And it was there that he met Catherine Middleton, his future wife.
Oh, wow.
Choosing St. Andrews over the more traditional royal path of Oxford or Cambridge shows a continued pattern of choosing his own experiences, shaping his own destiny in a way.
It seems like this drive to chart his own course also led him to the military.
Okay.
The article says he trained at Sandhurst and served in all three branches of the armed forces, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force.
And he's the first senior royal with such extensive military experience, giving him a truly unique perspective.
Wow.
Serving across all three branches, he would have gained a deep understanding of the challenges and sacrifices faced by those in the armed forces.
And during his Navy service, he was part of a team that seized a massive cocaine shipment.
Oh, really?
That's not exactly your typical royal duty.
Right. You don't often picture a future king chasing drug runners on the high seas.
Yeah.
It speaks to a sense of adventure and perhaps a desire to prove himself outside the confines of royal life.
It also highlights a commitment to public service that goes beyond ceremonial duties.
Yeah.
And then there's his time as a search and rescue pilot, conducting over 150 rescue missions.
That experience must have been both intensely demanding and incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
Imagine the pressure of knowing lives are literally in your hands. It likely deepened his empathy and his understanding of the dedication and bravery of first responders.
Speaking of challenging roles, let's talk about his marriage and family life.
Okay.
William and Catherine married in 2011 in a ceremony watched by millions around the world. And since then, they've had 3 children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis.
They seem to be striking a different balance compared to previous generations of royals. There's a sense that they're determined to give their children a more normal upbringing despite their royal status.
I'm curious about that. What are
Yeah.
some of the specific ways they've broken with tradition in their parenting style?
Well, for one, they've been very open about the joys and challenges of parenthood. They've spoken publicly about the importance of mental health, even for children. And they seem to be prioritizing spending quality time with their children, taking them on outings and involving them in their charitable work. It's a more hands-on, relatable approach.
That's a far cry from the more formal, distant parenting styles of previous generations. It makes you wonder how those different approaches might shape the future of the monarchy.
It's fascinating to consider, will this more modern, relatable style be what the monarchy needs to stay relevant in the 21st century? Or will it be seen as a break from tradition that ultimately weakens the institution? It's a question we'll likely be grappling with for years to come.
All right, so we've covered William's childhood, his education, his military service, and his marriage.
Oh, okay.
All of these experiences have shaped him. But I think the next chapter of his life as the Duke of Cambridge is where things get even more interesting.
So we're back talking about Prince William.
In part one, we talked about how William's early life experiences, from his unconventional schooling to his military service, really shaped his worldview.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm curious to explore a more nuanced aspect, his public image and his often complicated relationship with the media.
It's a fascinating dynamic, especially considering the tragic role the media played in his mother's life. Princess Diana's relationship with the press was, to put it mildly, tumultuous.
Yeah, the Wikipedia article really emphasizes how deeply her death impacted William, shaping his views on privacy and his fierce determination to protect his own family.
It's completely understandable. He witnessed firsthand the intrusive and often exploitative nature of tabloid journalism.
Right.
And you can see that reflected in his approach to media engagement today.
For example, the article mentions that William and Catherine have been very vocal about requesting privacy for their children, even taking legal action against certain photographers and publications.
Absolutely. They've drawn a clear line, making it known that they won't tolerate harassment or intrusions into their family life.
Right.
It's a delicate balance, though.
Yeah.
They understand the need for a certain level of public visibility as senior royals, but they're also determined to shield their children from the kind of relentless scrutiny that Diana endured.
But it's not like William shuns the media entirely.
Right.
He seems to understand the power of using his platform to connect with a wider audience, to speak out on issues he cares about.
That's right. Think back to 2016 when he became the first royal to appear on the cover of Attitude, a gay lifestyle magazine.
Oh, wow.
That was a bold move, and it sent a powerful message of support to the LGBTQ+ community.
And he didn't stop there. He's also spoken out against cyberbullying, emphasizing the importance of being proud of who you are, regardless of sexual orientation.
Those are powerful messages, especially coming from someone in his position.
Yeah.
It shows a willingness to use his influence to promote tolerance and acceptance, particularly among younger generations who are often the most vulnerable to online harassment.
It seems like this blend of guarding his family's privacy while also using his platform for good is working. He consistently ranks as one of the most popular royals, doesn't he?
He does. There's a sense that he's a modern royal, relatable, and in touch with the issues of the day. He's not afraid to address difficult topics like mental health, which he's been a vocal advocate for both personally and through his charitable work.
His work with mental health charities is particularly interesting given what he experienced with his mother. It seems like he's channeled that pain into something really positive.
There's definitely a connection there. As we talked about earlier, losing his mother at such a young age and under such tragic circumstances likely had a profound impact on his understanding of mental health. It probably also fueled his desire to create a more open and supportive environment for discussing these issues, both within the royal family and in society at large.
It's like he's trying to break the cycle to use his own experiences to help others.
Exactly. And his work goes beyond just talking about mental health. He's actively involved in supporting organizations like Shout, a 247 text messaging service for people struggling with mental health issues. The article even mentions that he volunteered on the helpline during the COVID-19 lockdowns. That's not just a symbolic gesture, it's real hands-on involvement.
It shows a level of commitment that goes beyond simply lending his name to a cause. And speaking of hands-on involvement, we can't forget about his extensive charity work, particularly his focus on conservation and homelessness.
These are areas where he's really rolled up his sleeves and gotten involved, often in very tangible ways. Take his work with the Tusk Trust, for example. He's been a patron for years, actively supporting their efforts to conserve wildlife across Africa.
And then there's the Earthshot Prize, which he launched in 2020. It's a global initiative aimed at finding solutions to the world's biggest environmental challenges.
The Earthshot Prize is a truly ambitious endeavor. It's modeled after the Nobel Prize, but with a specific focus on incentivizing innovation and solutions to combat climate change and other pressing environmental threats. It's not just about raising awareness, it's about finding real, actionable solutions.
It's like he's taking a proactive entrepreneurial approach to solving some of the world's most complex problems.
Exactly. And it's not just global issues that he's tackling. He's also deeply involved in addressing homelessness, a problem that's sadly all too prevalent in the UK.
The article highlights his long-standing work with Centrepoint, a charity that supports homeless youth.
He's been involved with them for years, and he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Remember when he spent a night sleeping on the streets to raise awareness and experience firsthand the challenges faced by those without a home?
Oh, yeah.
That's not something you see every royal doing.
It speaks to his willingness to step outside of his comfort zone and connect with people from all walks of life. And his commitment goes beyond these one-off events.
Right. He recently launched the Homewards Initiative, which aims to make homelessness a thing of the past in 6 pilot locations across the UK. It's a bold goal, but it demonstrates his belief that everyone deserves a safe and secure place to call home.
So we see this clear pattern emerging. William is deeply committed to public service, not just through his royal duties, but also through his hands-on involvement in charitable work. He's not afraid to tackle tough issues, to get involved at a grassroots level.
And what's fascinating is that all of this, his approach to the media, his advocacy work, it all feeds into this image of a modern royal, someone who's engaged with the world, someone who's trying to make a real difference.
Which makes me wonder, how will all of this translate to his eventual reign as king? What kind of monarch will William be? So we're back again, wrapping up our deep dive on Prince William. I'm thinking about all the stuff we just talked about, all the charitable work he's done. It's really impressive, you know.
It really is. We've talked about his hands-on approach, but I think what's even more impressive is how his chosen causes connect back to his personal experiences. You know, it's not just philanthropy. It feels deeply personal.
Yeah, exactly. Earlier we were talking about how his work as an air ambulance pilot likely influenced his passion for mental health advocacy.
Right. He saw firsthand the toll that trauma and high-pressure situations can take on first responders.
Yeah.
And he's spoken candidly about how those experiences, coupled with his own personal loss, fueled his desire to, destigmatize conversations around mental health.
But it's not just talk, right? He, along with Catherine and Prince Harry, launched the Heads Together campaign to get people talking openly about mental well-being.
Yeah. And then there's his involvement with Shout the 24/7 text messaging support line. Imagine the impact of knowing that even a prince is volunteering his time to help people in crisis.
Yeah.
That's a powerful message of empathy and action.
For sure, for sure. And then there's his work with conservation, another cause that seems close to his heart.
It's interesting, isn't it? This is another area where we see the influence of both his personal interests and a broader sense of responsibility. He's been a patron of the Tusk Trust for years, working to protect endangered species in Africa.
Right.
But he's also taken a more global approach with the Earthshot Prize.
The Earthshot Prize is such a unique concept. It's almost like a Nobel Prize for environmentalism. Can you tell us more about its structure and goals?
Absolutely. So each year, 5 winners are chosen from around the world, each receiving a significant financial award to further develop their solutions to major environmental challenges.
Okay.
These challenges range from protecting and restoring nature to cleaning our air, reviving our oceans, building a waste-free world, and fixing our climate.
Wow.
It's about incentivizing bold, innovative solutions with the potential for global impact.
So it's not just about throwing money at the problem. It's about supporting those who are actively working towards concrete solutions.
Exactly. It's a very strategic and forward-thinking approach to environmental philanthropy, and it really showcases William's commitment to not just preserving the planet for future generations, but actually driving positive change.
And it's not just these big global issues that he's focused on. He's also taken on the complex challenge of homelessness, a problem that hits close to home in the UK.
His long-standing work with Centrepoint, which helps homeless youth, is incredibly impactful. But what really struck me was his willingness to step into their shoes, spending a night sleeping on the streets.
Yeah.
It demonstrates a deep level of empathy and a desire to understand the lived experiences of those he's trying to help.
And that experience clearly had a lasting impact. It led him to launch the Homewards Initiative with the goal of making homelessness a thing of the past in 6 pilot locations across the UK.
That's an incredibly ambitious goal, and it remains to be seen how successful it will be. But the fact that he's willing to take on such a complex systemic issue speaks volumes about his commitment to social justice and his belief in the possibility of creating a more equitable society.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to the question we posed earlier. What kind of king will William be?
It's the question on everyone's mind, isn't it? It's impossible to predict the future.
Right.
But based on what we've seen so far, I think it's safe to say that he'll be a very different kind of monarch.
From his unconventional education to his military service, his hands-on approach to charity, and his willingness to challenge the status quo, he seems to be forging a path that is both deeply rooted in tradition and remarkably forward-thinking.
He's certainly set a high bar for himself, and only time will tell how his reign will unfold.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the complexities of Prince William's life and work. And while we've covered a lot of ground today, there's always more to learn and explore. We encourage you to delve deeper into any of the topics we've discussed, whether it's his conservation efforts, mental health advocacy, or his approach to challenging social issues.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of Prince William.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.